Hello, and welcome to another episode of Walk the Dog Cinema. Roka and I are out and about, getting our walk in on a nice sunny spring day. It's actually a beautiful day, a little warm, but not too bad, and just kind of collecting some sun, getting a good walk in, and gonna sit here and review a movie. And I know for the most part, everything's pretty positive. Like most movies, I would say, give it a chance, especially the ones I review on the channel. But I actually have hit a stinker. Yes, today is not a positive review. Probably going to go down some rabbit holes, some big spoilers to talk about this one, because I'd suggest, unless you are a 80s slasher completist, or you like really gratuitous boob scene, this movie is kind of just a waste of time. The movie I'm talking about is X-Ray, or aka Hospital Massacre. Yes, it stars Barbi Benton, who is of Hugh Hefner fame, and she was the girlfriend of Hugh Hefner from like 68 to like 75 or 76 or so. It's like an 8-year period. And but she kind of did some movies, did quite a bit of TV, The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, all that stuff. But the few movies that she did, she always had some gratuitous nude scenes, as she's associated with Playboy. So basically that's what you're hiring for, because I wouldn't say she was the greatest actress, but that's what you kind of run into. So today we're talking about X-Ray. So X-Ray, it's a slasher film. It's right around 1982, starring Barbi Benton as this kind of single mom who goes to a hospital to get a checkup, and someone is out murdering people that are associated with the hospital who have come in contact with her. The basis starts off like a lot of the 80s slashers. We get a setup where the Barbi Benton character is young little girl. It's like 19 years in the past, from where it takes place in the present, and she's playing a train set, and takes place on Valentine's Day. She's hanging out with this boy, and they're playing on a train set, and this other boy is kind of stalking her on the outside, and basically this boy sneaks in and kills the other boy, hangs him up kind of gruesome like, and then we cut to the present, and now someone's coming after her again. And I mean, we kind of know who it is, and that's just one of many plot contrivances that absolutely don't add up in this film. And the crazy thing is it's not a good film. It is competently directed, it is competently made. There are moments of tension and kind of surreal imagery, and the movie's all kind of wacky on one level, but that's just it. It also plays it rather safe. I mean, there's like a really gratuitous nude scene that found out it had just been inserted because the director didn't think the movie was over the top enough, and on some level it wasn't, but they made these like choices, or the director did, to separate itself from the pack, because there was a lot of slasher films at this time. And if you had been in not just the theater, but like the old school VHS time with the small mom and pop video stores, as it was just kind of getting out with the renting. I mean, movies would cost you $99 to buy, so the video stores. But the horror genre and the sci-fi fantasy genre, always, to separate themselves, had really crazy box art to capture yourself. And a lot of times the box art didn't fit inherently what was in the movie. And so, you know, it got reputations for video nasties and all sorts of crazy things like that. Yeah, there was gratuitous nudity. There's sometimes excessive gore. But a lot of times the movies are actually pretty competently made. You know, the independent scene was huge in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Somewhat in the 90s. But, you know, like now, a lot of people, you don't realize that we're kind of back to the studio system of the, you know, early Hollywood that made it all the way up to the 60s when they kind of broke the studio system and you got a lot of independent films. This one was done by the Cannon Group, and you could, you know, if we looked at even video game terms, they're like a AA, you know. Yeah, they had Chuck Norris and they had all these crazy, like, you know, we call them exploitation films and stuff, but, you know, they did their karate movies, they did the whole ninja craze, Missing in Action, the tie into Rambo, you know, but they were big with Chuck Norris, they were big with the American Ninja, but at this end of the day, like the Cannon Group, though they were kind of low budget or medium budget in that regard, you could find some like fun stories, and yeah, they were out to make a buck, but they didn't make like completely trash films. You know, they were enjoyable. They weren't Academy Award, you know, winning things going on here. But as a young man growing up, especially with you know, the start of like Netflix and Cinemax, and I mean not Netflix, sorry, HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, you know, you're kind of getting out of on TV and select TV. So, you know, cable was kind of up and coming. You had all this stuff, and you can find these movies late night. They're kind of fun to watch, you know. This one inherently is a little tedious. I kind of was shocked that like it moves, but it doesn't. It's kind of weird. The pacing's kind of strange, and I think it's because they kind of go bonkers with it, but then play it rather safe. And so, like, you're 45 minutes into the film, quite a bit has happened on one level, but at the same time, it's kind of like spinning its wheels already, and you still got it roughly another almost 40 minutes to go. And so tedium kind of sets in because there's a ebb and flow to the film that it's kind of like sits in the same beats, you know, and kind of does the same things. So it's not even that, oh, it's predictable or any of that. It's just kind of labors along and doesn't have any kind of real momentum to get to the end, so to speak. But at the same time, like, it has these crazy visuals at times, and like I said, everybody in the hospital is kind of bonkers. It's almost like a surreal nightmare, but the camera work in and of itself is not. And so, I mean, that's why I say it's company made. The director, Bowles Davidson, I guess he did Popsicle Lemonade, but he also did Last American Virgin. He's produced the 4 Expendable movies for his recent stuff, but like, he's not an inherently bad director. I mean, he's kind of hamstrung. He was just brought on to this film from the first director who kind of got fired. So, you know, he's trying to do something competent with something that's rather incompetent, the script. And he knows how to shoot his actors, makes Barbi Benton look great. I mean, he shoots the nude scene that is quite long. It's an exam that has no basis in reality. So he kind of goes a little surreal, kind of makes it a little bit of a nightmarish thing, but he just kind of doesn't go for it all. And I think that's because the producers didn't want him to just kind of go David Lynch bonkers. I think if the movie goes in that direction, it would have really separated itself for much more, where you kind of got this David Lynch-like slasher film, which kind of would have been crazy for the time, you know, because he has characters. There's these 3 old ladies that wander around the movie that are just straight up ass weird. Like, they're like implied to be witches or something. I don't know, but that's how the implication goes. The hospital is a real abandoned hospital that felt like more like an asylum ward. And all the doctors act just kind of loopy, and the nurses, there's not a lot of them. And that's the other part of it, is like when we're doing the Halloween 2 chase sequences in the hospital stuff. It's all kind of just empty, even though she's screaming at the top of her lungs. We see that there's patience. There's just not enough chaos in that regard. The kill scenes are somewhat inventive at times and somewhat not. You know, the big twist at the end, like I said, spoilers, it's the boy from the beginning. And then when you put it together, you think, well, how the hell is he not in jail? They don't explain how he even escaped. People in the hospital react that this guy has been working there. So a lot of it just doesn't add up and make any sense. I think the director realized that, so this is where he went with it, just to kind of make everything seem surreal and weird, so you can kind of forego the plot mechanisms at work here. I mean, the movie tries to wrap all that in. I mean, Barbi Benton has a moment where she's getting restrained, and she's literally saying, you know, everyone in this hospital is nuts and crazy. And it's an effective scene in and of itself on one level, but in the grand scope of things, it points out also the bad part of the movie, that everyone's kind of bizarre and strange, and the movie just won't go there though. Like, it's kind of just it wants to, but then plays it safe. So that's kind of why the movie's bad, you know, and doesn't separate itself in that regard. I'm glad I watched it. It's one of those movies that, like I said, as a young boy, you'd see the VHS on the thing on the counter, or, you know, on the wall, and it has a great visual for the poster. You know, the lady's on a gurney, she's dressed in her garb, and there's all these surgical things. You're kind of like, oh my gosh, this is kind of looks like a crazy movie. You know, it was the time you got Prowler and Mutilator and all, you know, the sorority house massacres and all that crazy stuff. And you had, you know, seeing the visuals as a young man, you're kind of looking at these going, the heck are these? You know, I mean, Video Dead and Microwave Massacre, and that's a prime one. You know, where the box looks like it's about cannibalism and all these kind of crazy things, and I think it kind of is, but then you see the movie and it's just like cheaply made, and it was labeled as video nasty that isn't really that nasty in the one sense. It's just kind of so bad it's good. But by this time, Herschel Gordon Lewis is kind of, you know, the forefather of the video nasty back in the 60s and 70s. You know, he's kind of out of the picture. And you had some real auteurs like Argento and Carpenter and all that kind of getting labeled into that stuff, that you know, Romero, that those guys were like, I wouldn't say Herschel Gordon Lewis is a hack. I'm just saying that he had a different mindset of what he was doing, you know. And I would even say, like, in this, the Cannon Group, yeah, they're trying to make money, but I wouldn't call them just inherently hacks. They are trying to entertain and make movies that they like, so to speak. You know, and Bowes Davidson, the director, you know, has had a long career in Hollywood, so he knows what he's doing. That's what I'm getting at, is there's competence here. It's just not a very good movie. So unless you're into the slasher and you need to be a completionist and kind of see all the crazy early 80s stuff, then give it a look. But once you get past the Barbi Benton scene, I mean, there's really just no purpose to watching this film. And I would even say there's a purpose to watching even that. It's just, you know, back in the day, it was like shot for Skinamax or something. And if you know that reference, you get what I mean with what, if you've never seen this film, what that is. So that's that. But yeah, so one of the few negative reviews, X-Ray, don't check it out. Not worth the time, effort, but hey, it is what it is, you know. Let me know what you think of X-Ray, if you've ever seen it. If you haven't seen it though, what are your kind of like guilty pleasures of that early 80s genre of kind of crazy video cassettes that aren't inherently nasty, but at the same time got a reputation, but ended up being actually a pretty good movie. So I'd like to hear comments about that for sure. If you see what you like, please subscribe, and happy movie hunting, everybody. Take care.